Hello everyone and welcome to an absolutely mouth-watering prospect. We're here at the UCI Cycling World Championships for the mountain bike downhill. The junior women are the first out of the traps as the crowds continue to flock into Annickmore, getting ready for a fascinating weekend's racing ahead of us. Our man Josh Carlson is trackside with all the latest information. Let's head to him now.
Welcome to day 2 of racing here in the Scottish Highlands. We're getting set for our first day of downhill mountain bike racing with our junior men and junior women under 19 competitors. Now the course has had a few changes. We've got a few alterations which have kept the speed high, which is definitely catching a few riders out. They're struggling to adapt to the extra speed here in Fort William. Fort William is known for the rocks, known for the gnar, but this year the additional speed, the new alterations have made a couple of changes that riders aren't quite ready for. They've had to change their bike setup, they've had to change their mental preparations, they've had to change the way they adapt the course, the focus points, the speed points. There's a lot going on for our competitors, and today our junior men and women are going to get stuck right in for our first World Championship event. Our elite men and women are going to be paying very close attention to today's race because they want to see how fast the course is running. They want to see what sections are breaking up, what sections are riding well, how they attack the new motorway section. There's a lot going on, and I can tell you right now, the weather that is rolling in is classically Scottish. It's cold, it's wet, it's windy, but we love it nonetheless. So today we're going to see our very first World Championships events crowned. Our first rainbow jerseys are going to be laced onto the back of our champions here, and our champion junior men and champion junior women. We'll see you trackside shortly.
Well then, let's have a look at that start list. Jessica Sheridan from Australia will get us underway, and it's Poppy Lane from New Zealand all the way through. Abigail Ronka there from the USA. What can she do today? Nina Cameron as well for Great Britain. Great Britain second in that medals table at the minute. They'll be hoping for a big result from Cameron today. Then we move on. Kale Cushman from the USA, Danica Boffa, Sophie Lawrence, Soline Besson, Taylor Osgard is having a phenomenal season so far for the USA. Can she help add to that lead in the medals table? Then we head to the business end of the things. The UCI World Cup regulars, Riley Miller's in there, Sasha Ernest absolutely starred in Val di Sole in Italy, and Amy Kenyon, of course, racing at home in Scotland. Well, my name is Rick McLaughlin. Joining me in the commentary booth today, a man who knows this place better than most, Neil Donoghue. Neil, exciting times ahead.
Yes, the biggest day of the year for these junior racers. You know, some rainbow stripes up for grabs, so I can't wait to see some action. I'm sure the riders will be up there warming up. Also, the nerves will be hitting them. It's go time.
It is very much go time. There is the iconic start hut, and look at this Fort William track. Absolutely perfect conditions to go racing today. More weather affected than just about any UCI World Cup track on the circuit, and today it seems to be hitting the sweet spot. Just enough moisture on it to keep things fast but intact. Too dry here, and it gets extremely dusty. The fans making their way onto the course now. And we are ready to go racing here at the UCI Cycling World Championships from Glasgow, Scotland, for the junior women's downhill race. Fort William, one of the great bastions of downhill racing. It's had a race here since 2002. There's been a UCI World Cup here apart from the COVID-affected 2020 season. But Neil, a win here matters just that little bit more, doesn't it?
Well, it's one of the classic racetracks. It's a tough place to ride, but it's a really tough place to put a really good race run down. And it's shown us some spectacular racing over the years. So we're looking forward to seeing what happens today, but also tomorrow. It's a big weekend in Fort William. Conditions looking good, but also this place sometimes suffers a little bit when it gets too dry. It's almost like that top rock section becomes slippier as the smaller stones sort of come out. So that might affect the riders as they've been riding. It's been fairly damp, you know, previously. So we'll see if there's any sort of front wheel washouts in these rides today. Hopefully not.
It takes a bit of learning this place, doesn't it? I saw Reece Wilson earlier on the weekend saying that it's really about staying up on top of all that rock, all that chatter up top. It's just doing as little work as possible, getting the bike going fast enough so you sit on top of that rock and don't get pulled into the big impacts.
Yeah, so obviously really rough track, but what you can't really tell is the faster you go, the less you'll sort of drop into the bottom of those big rock holes, basically. So the faster you go, obviously the more difficult and more dangerous it is, but you start hitting less of those bumps, and momentum helps you out here a lot.
Yeah, momentum key to downhill mountain bike racing, no more so perhaps than in Fort William, as we get ready to see our first rider. Jessica Sheridan leaves the start hut and gets us underway here at the UCI Cycling World Championships in Glasgow, Scotland. We're in Fort William for the junior women's downhill race at one of the classic downhill venues in the world. Look at that for a view.
Yes, it starts off fairly smooth, but now we're into the rough bit already. The top of this track is just brutal, particularly this bit. Not particularly steep, but big holes, and then coming down into these tighter corners where that's where the loose rocks, if it does dry up, they can get really slippery on these corners.
Yep, it is really... I struggle to sort of put it in context if people are tuning in for the first time. It's such a rough, such a long physical test. You stand in that finish bowl, you look up the mountain, you see a tiny little speck of a start hut, and it's hard to fathom that people will race bicycles from the top of it right to the bottom, but they have been doing so since 2002. There's been a lot more material put up onto the track for the Worlds this year. You can see just how long it is there. Jessica still some way off the second split.
Yeah, we saw in practice that, well, some of the track has been smoothed out, but it doesn't stay smooth forever, this place. I'm sure it's been ridden in, things will be getting rough, there'll be holes digging out even in the smooth parts. So it's physical as well. Don't forget, you're not pedaling a huge amount on this track until you get to the bottom motorway section, but it's really like doing press-ups and squats for the whole top 2/3 of this track, and then you've got a sprint down the bottom.
It's so tough on the body, this place. It comes in for your hands, for your feet, for your legs, just impact after impact after impact. And the further down you get the Fort William track, the more the speed increases as well, and it becomes really a matter of nailing all those lines absolutely perfectly in order to maintain momentum, as we see Sheridan making good sense of these turns that have been re-bolstered and filled with a lot of material to try and get this track back to full strength ahead of the Worlds.
Yeah, she's coming down in towards the wooded section where there's kind of more obvious line choices down here, although there are a lot at the top as well. You can see a couple of options as she gets down into this sort of fresh wooded section.
It really is a question of pacing yourself here as well, because it is pretty long and, as we said, physical compared to a lot of the other tracks that they go to. So certainly we've seen over the years some of the world's best on the boardwalk sections up the top, sitting down, saving a bit of energy where they can. We get our first look at this new wood section now.
Yeah, she's keeping good momentum through there. Downhill's all about obviously going as fast as you can, but making the smallest amount of mistakes as well to get the best run you can. And you're really looking to keep momentum through these tougher sections. It's looking pretty good so far.
Over the big dune, the road gap into the left-hand berm. Sheridan, she's done a lot of winning over the last couple of seasons in the Victorian Downhill Series back in Australia, so getting on the road now and seeing if she can do it internationally as well.
It's a really big step for some of these junior riders. It might be very well their first race overseas as well, and it's a great learning experience.
Yeah, UCI World Championships a bit different from the UCI World Cup Series in that riders can come here with their national federations and start to experience racing in foreign fields for the first time.
It's quite a tough little section. I mean, it doesn't look it, but it does flatten out quite considerably along here. As you can see, any momentum that you carry in through that first wall ride, you carry it for quite a long time, and if you don't, it just makes it all the more physical, and that starts paying here. You can really start breathing hard.
Yeah, and this is what I was kind of sort of angling at earlier on, and all the jumps and compressions and turns in this section, you've got to nail every single part of them, because if you lose speed in one place, it's seconds onto the clock at the bottom. As you see these newly reshaped jumps, Ronan Taylor and his team here have been doing a lot of work after the British Cycling Downhill Series here earlier in the year to get this place really sort of revamped and up to speed, and these jumps taking no prisoners throughout practice and qualifying.
Yeah, you saw Sheridan sort of tag one of them and then it's gone. The momentum just drops away. You've got to try and get to the backside, even if that means sometimes going a bit higher than you'd like. Otherwise, your rhythm's out. She's jumped that nicely, but coming into the finish now.
Yeah, let's get Jessica Sheridan down the line and to get our benchmark time of a 5:48.7 for her. That will kick things off here in Fort William. So just for a bit of context then, fastest qualifier was Aries van Leuven with a 5:17 earlier, as Poppy Lane for New Zealand leaves the start hut in Fort William. We jump now to the live pictures at the bottom of the track. Lane down to the bottom. She's massively quicker than Sheridan. What is she going to stop the clock at? Poppy Lane gets down to the line with a 5:20.821, so some nearly 28 seconds faster. So a great run from Poppy Lane, comfortably into the hot seat.
Yeah, like you said, that's just 3 seconds outside of yesterday's fastest time in the junior women qualification, so decent result there.
Sophia Irvington then from Canada. A lot of fast young Canadians here in the junior ranks.
Plus 40 though, so maybe problems up on the hill.
Yep, just trying to see if I can see any dirt on the kit. Always a telltale sign in downhill racing that a rider has been down, but maybe just taking it a bit more cautiously than Lane.
Pushing the big gear, tough on the muscles, but it's got to be done.
Yeah, lungs burning, and that's kind of what it is, as I say, about this place, is there's absolutely nowhere to catch a breath and let the pressure out your hands and lungs and legs and everything else. It's just such a physical test here in the Highlands of Scotland.
It affects riders differently. You know, you would definitely, your max heart rate the whole way down, but also for some riders, they might suffer with their hands or with arm pump, and that can make riding the rougher technical sections all the more difficult.
So plenty of crankworks and Canadian Cup racing for Sophia Irvington from Canada. And Neil, as a young racer, how big a race is the UCI Worlds on your calendar at the start of the year?
Wow, it's the biggest. I find it's probably quite hard for these younger riders to not get overwhelmed. It's possibly their best ever chance at being a world champion, and it's probably the biggest race they've ever done in their lives. So it's quite the build-up, especially if you are going overseas, and it's a big deal, and you want to show what you can do. Junior racing particularly, I think there's a lot of industry, there's a lot of fans look at this for the next superstars, and these young riders want to perform.
Kate McKenzie then, another Canadian, leaves the start hut. McKenzie, again, plenty of racing in the Northwest Cup, the BC Cup and Canadian Cup, so Canada really, really on the march these days in gravity racing, both downhill and enduro formats. So 35 seconds back then at the fourth split for McKenzie.
You can see the splits kind of going the wrong way all the way down this run, so only +5 at the first one. You can see, how maybe it's the physicality.
It really is, though, just to pick you up on your previous point, it's a really different experience being at the World Championships, isn't it? Even as a journalist, I remember covering it, and the atmosphere is very, very different. It's a melting pot. Kaylee Sherlock then leaves the start hut, another Canadian. The atmosphere is different, the pressure's right from the start of the week. It matters more, this one. If you're new to the UCI World Championship format, it is one run, one race weekend.
Kaylee Sherlock coming up short. She cleared that first jump really nice. Unfortunately, coming up short, and again, nosing that one ear means she can't she's not going to make any of these last jumps, which is really costing her some time. It
is, one race result to take the UCI World Champion stripes. You can wear them for the rest of the year. It's something that will be with you for the rest of your career as a cyclist, that you were a UCI World Champion, and that produces a very, very different atmosphere at the races themselves.
Yeah, don't forget these riders are pulling on their national jerseys as well, and that can bring its own pressure. I mean, it's a lot of pride that goes with that, but some of these riders will have the colours all over their bikes, you know, showing their flags. But just to sort of represent your country can make you maybe even a little bit more nervous than normal.
Yeah, certainly. Here is Nina Cameron then, leaves the start hut.
Home World Championships as well.
Yeah,
it's a big deal. Family and friends down on the course, no doubt.
A huge deal for these young athletes. Nina Cameron shot to stardom with, goes down in that left-hander, and that is so easy to do up there, the amount of rock that is coming out of those corners.
There's nowhere good to crash, really, unless you're hitting the grass on this place. So there's a lot of rock. I mean, hopefully she's okay, but it's an easy mistake to make.
Abigail Ronke then for the USA. She's had a good World Cup season so far. 9th in Leogang in Austria, and 8th then in Val di Sole, one of the most intimidating tracks on the circuit. So Ronke coming into a bit of form. She's 19 seconds back at the 4th split, but making good work of these jumps.
Yes, first rider we've seen clear those really nicely for a while. It's going to make good amount a difference to her average speed down this last part.
I think these jumps as well are going to be key over the course of this weekend. They've got quite kicky lips on them, which sends the riders up into the air, but you want to keep them quite low as well to preserve time. So Ronke over the line. We go back to the top then with Ailey Miklas from Australia on that Norco. This top bit, Neil, really about pinpoint accuracy, isn't it, and maintaining momentum.
Yeah, it's one of the smoother parts, fortunately, for the riders, so they've just still got to nail it. It can still be lost there. You can see down to that flat section, like I said, before you get back onto the motorway, it's really key to carry good average speed coming into the section. Otherwise, you're just burning energy trying to get through it.
44 seconds back at the 3rd split for the Australian, so another run moving away from her. We jump on board the live drone.
Now there's a big gap here. She's going to pull.
Oh,
not quite.
Just getting bucked slightly. Then you miss those couple of pedals into this one.
Maybe I'm chipping there as well. It's demoralising where you just make a mistake on the 1st or 2nd jump and you see it roll away from you, and you know you're losing speed.
This final jump there as well, the elite athletes getting really close right out to the track markers on the takeoff of it during elite qualifying, which happened earlier on today. But this one isn't about qualifying, this one is about the rainbow stripes, the UCI World Championships Junior Women's Final. Miklas crosses the line in an 8th.
Poppy Lane still sitting there good with that 5:20. She was our 3rd fastest qualifier yesterday with a 5:26, so she's taken a good amount of time off that as well. So she'll probably be feeling quite good sat there.
Yeah. Doesn't feel much better than sitting in the hot seat at the bottom of Fort William. Oh.
This is Alice Lutman having some issues down here.
This revamped wood section, extremely tricky to pick a line out of. Jenna Burns then, from South Africa. There is Kael Cushman on course, on the track. Fans streaming in to Fort William, the Nevis Range, as they always do. One of the big pilgrimages in mountain biking. Fort William, up on the west coast of Scotland.
Jenna Burns clears that nice plus 55 though, so
yeah. Oh,
did she go down? She
did
go down.
Big crash, just tagged the lip of that last jump.
Let's ride it down. Let's hope that track was clear.
Yep. After seeing the replay of Kael Cushman leaving the start house then. It's amazing, since 2002, you know, this place still such a test even for the modern machinery, and the speeds of the sport have gone up and up and up, but Fort William remains a big test. There is Cushman off to the side of the track, so I'm just wondering if there was a red flag and she's pulled off to the side there after that rider before her crashed. So we may be in for some reruns here.
Oh, it's a shame, especially when you've got that far down. You've burnt some of your matches to get there, so depending on how her run was going, she might or may not be so keen for a rerun, who knows.
So the race is on hold whilst the medical teams get into place to attend to Jenna Barnes from South Africa. It looks like she just tagged the lip of that landing, which easy to do.
Yeah, possibly a buck over the bars. I mean, there are big jumps down here.
Yeah, this section absolutely flat out fast. These jumps freshly rebuilt for this UCI World Championship race. Well, there is our hot seat then. Poppy Lane still fastest as we are under red flag conditions here in Fort William. Jenna Barnes has crashed, the South African rider. She's just receiving some medical treatment, which means the course is currently on hold under red flag. Those riders who were on it at the time will head back for their reruns at the start. I'm guessing, Neil, as well, a really tricky one for an athlete to manage.
Reruns. It's always difficult when you're an athlete, even at the top now, the ones that are getting ready to roll and there's a red flag. It doesn't help with your nerves.
There, that is good to see. She is up on her feet and being cleared from the track, Jenna Barnes. So we will get ready to go racing once again. Yeah, in downhill racing, same as downhill skiing in a lot of ways, there's the riders' meticulous preparation at the top, and it is all worked around their start time right from the start of the week, really. Like, they get fixated on this time where they're going to have to get in the start hut and go when they hear the beeps, and for that to be a rerun, or for them to have to sort of recalibrate that, it's quite a bit of a mental reset. But as you say, if there were mistakes on a run up until then, a chance to put them right as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it really plays in your favour, but maybe, who knows, if you do get a rerun. I think, like I say, it's such a physical track that you don't really want to get 2/3 of the way down and have to go back up and go again, but them's the breaks. Sometimes they're going to have to regroup and go again.
Yeah, and that is where all the physical preparation comes into, a long hours in the gym. But there is nothing that can compare you for race day here in Fort William. Only Mont Saint Anne in Canada has had more racing at it than this place. So here are the current standings. Poppy Lane for New Zealand leads the way ahead of Abigail Ronke, Jessica Sheridan, Kate McKenzie, Kaylee Sherlock, Nina Cameron, Sophia Irvington, Sally Miklas, Alex Luckman and Kael Cushman. And as if by magic, there is your hot seat. Poppy Lane.
It's a good time, plus 15 on, you know.
She's got good margin, hasn't she?
And like I say, compared to yesterday, that 5:20, it stands up well. We'll see. You never know what could happen with weather, but fastest time in qualifying yesterday from Arise van Leuven was 5:17, pretty much dead.
Iris van Leuven, one of the big talents in junior women's downhill. We will see her coming up presently. So we are just waiting on racing getting back underway here. A red flag was out early in the day, but we should be able to get things back underway as we see a highlights package of the current action so far. Jessica Sheridan got us underway. .52 kilometers an hour through the speed trap. We'll see that comfortably top 60 as the day goes on, I'm sure.
It's always a relief to drop off that final drop through the finish line in this place. Even coming into that last final steep section, as you jump into sight of the final arena, you know, it's a really cool arena at this place. It's normally super loud with the fans. It's a really cool feeling, but normally it's a feeling of relief as well for these races, trying to get over that last little drop and you're done.
But you can't relax for a second here. That final finish straight, you still have to be so accurate and they absorb a lot of impact, despite the fact that you've just been hammered for about 5 minutes.
And technically, it's probably the easiest part of the track. All you've got to do is hit the jumps. But you know, sometimes riders hit at a different speed in their race run than they would do in practice, so they don't always get it right. And you've really got to hit all those landings as good as you can. Because, like I said before, a little mistake at the top really costs you any average speed, and that can make a difference at the end of the day.
Poppy Lane seemed to really master that on the way down, getting back to what I said about Reece Wilson's points earlier in the week about this place. It's all about just trying to work with it, not against it, and she looked like she was riding well there.
Looks like we're ready to restart. Taylor Osgard.
Taylor Osgard, a UCI World Cup regular then for Transition Factory Racing, her trade team. Transition doing some great work supporting young talent in downhill racing. Osgard just waiting for the timing.
So that's a qualifying time from yesterday. It was a 5:39, so yeah, decent way outside of what we've seen already today.
30 seconds. We are putting rider on course now. Rider 14 is on course.
It's time to go.
That's it. You've got to put it all behind you now, all the waiting.
There's nothing quite like downhill racing when you've got one chance, especially at the World Champs. You know you've got to nail it at the start gate.
Our best result of the season so far was an 8th in Leogang. Taylor Osgard for the USA gets ready to leave the start hut here in Fort William.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Osgard then sets out down Alnwick, one of the most intimidating downhill racetracks on the calendar, and this year it matters more than ever before. It is the UCI World Championships from Glasgow. We're a couple of hours north in Fort William. Osgard railing those opening turns up the top of the moor. You can see the wind just licking across it there.
You sometimes see some magic from these riders who are, you know, maybe, you know, put a qualifying time that will put them in the top 10, and they know they've got to go all out in the final. It's World Champs. There's no point even coming second, really. They'll really throw everything at this run. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's sometimes really cool to watch as well.
It's easy to overcook this top bit, though. We talked about it in previous venues in the UCI Mountain Bike World Series earlier in the year. Places like Val di Sole, where you've got some big turns up top, and it can be easy just to go in and overcook it slightly and lose time up here.
Well, we saw it with Jackson Golson, didn't we? Almost on that first turn, almost wash out. You've got to be precise. Even some of those boardwalks are really narrow, and if it's at all windy up there, it can really put you off as well. Like now she's down, Taylor's down into the really rough sections, and it's looking smooth, so hopefully she's carrying good speed and trying to stay on top of those rocks.
Yeah, she's a
slide there.
Yeah, within half a second of Poppy Lane here, Osgard, you can see the size of the chunk, the boulders up there, these full suspension downhill race bikes. 200 millimeters plus of suspension travel. That is the amount that the wheel can get up and over and out of the way of obstacles, setting these things up. Ooh. So key. Oh, Osgard goes down.
Oh, big swap. You see a front wheel, then a back wheel, and it just sort of, she almost saved it and then went into that rock section.
Yeah, but she's up, shakes it off, but time to refocus and get going again. Still got plenty of track to race as well. We were talking about that just before we came on air, weren't we, that when you crash up here it's soul destroying because you've still got quite a long way to go to get back to safety.
Yep, been there, done that. In World Champs particularly, you think...
Look, here we go.
It gets away from it, into the rocks. There's nowhere good, like I've said, to crash. I mean, hopefully that wasn't too painful, but she's got to get up, get back on and get those wheels moving.
Yeah, there is nowhere nice to crash at Fort William, that is for sure. The hot seat applaud the efforts of Taylor Osgard. Look at that for a view, and I can tell you this, with plenty of experience, you don't always get to see that far away from this track. When the weather moves in here, it moves in considerably.
It's the best conditions I've seen, maybe ever, Rick, at Fort William. We've seen some really challenging conditions. Bit of wind, bit of rain, put those two things together, even for the rider's vision, can make it really difficult. There's nowhere to pull a roll off down here. Sometimes you just have to commit, you know you can't see it, and it crack on, but luckily we don't have those conditions today. Riders are sort of should be able to see where they're going, and they've practiced it in these conditions. Like I say, it's dried out a little bit from earlier in the week, so it maybe is getting a little bit looser, but it's not, you know, extremely difficult from what they've been practicing in. It's
such a strange place, isn't it? My experience here over the years has either been sunburnt and being baked or else being washed out to sea, basically. Like it does one thing or the other. It doesn't tend to do this, which is kind of, as you say, perfect for racing, which is just still and not raining.
Yep, whatever the weather, there's always midges.
There's always midges. Yep, the tiny little Scottish flies that tend to inhabit these woods, intent on eating your eyeballs out of your head.
Taylor into this technical section now. Definitely some line twist going to see the roots digging out as well. They would have come out since they first rode this track.
And that's a big part of downhill racing, as we talked about this year, is being able to deal with a track evolving over the course of a weekend and getting your lines that you want to ride in, but also having options just in case they're not accessible on race day.
So looking good so far, coming into this road gap. Nice and fast, big, hard braking section there.
I kind of feel that crash really disappointing for her because she's looking good otherwise.
That's nice.
Yeah, it looks like she may have been on the challenge for that hot seat had she not crashed up top in that rock section. Saw a massive crash there in practice from Dante Silva, the Canyon collective, but racing for the USA this weekend. Teammate off Taylor Osgard.
You can see where she's lost that 24 seconds, but actually down to that third split, she's almost there, so she's gathered herself pretty well.
Nice inside line round up, but this pedal is absolutely soul destroying. Yep, downhill bikes, lots of suspension, big soft rubber, slow rebounding tyres, which means plenty of grip, but also means plenty of drag when you get onto those pedaling sections. Osgard floats through the jumps.
Hitting the back, so see she went quite high there, but got to the back of that jump really nicely, and that means she's going to carry that speed. As you can see, she's clearing the rest of these jumps really nicely, so that's it's going to look good hopefully by that final split, but obviously not good enough to get back those 29 seconds.
And there you can see the event village as she heads down towards the line. This is an absolute plummet down into the finish bowl. Well, it's been all action from Taylor Osgard, as we've come to expect. The American crosses the line with a 5:46.7, 25.8 seconds back of the hot seat time, but you do get a feeling what could have been there for Taylor Osgard. It looked good, bar that crash.
Yeah, she brought back a couple of seconds on that bottom section, like I said, so maybe there's time to be made on populating that final split. We will see how that plays out.
Kira Zamora Novales then down through the jump section, the Spanish rider.
Yeah, there we go. Couldn't get to that one. You can see the leaves as well on the trees. Even though that sock looks okay, it's a bit blustery down there.
It is a bit blustery. When you're racing, do you have time to scope things like wind socks and wind conditions, or do you just have to send it and hope for the best?
It's tough to say. We didn't have wind socks back when I was racing. Probably not. I think riders will feel it as much as anything. They'll know which sections of the track are more affected than others. You think there wouldn't be too bad because you've got shelter on each side from the trees, so As long as there's no headwind, that would be the worst for that jump section.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of race runs decided over the years here in Fort William as Novales crosses the line 38 seconds back. By wind actually at the top of the track more so than the bottom. It's very, very exposed, especially by modern track standards. And a bit of wind up there, especially if it's in the face, it can really, really add time onto the clock. Emma Aiton, another UCI World Cup regular.
11 seconds down, but I'm not expecting her to make any time in that final split, like I alluded to. I think going around those jumps will cost her, if anything. Yeah,
she was 7th at her home round in Lenzerheide at the start of the year, but goes second.
Solid.
Solid from Aiton. That's Maria Pomes Garcia. Leaves the start hot and gets things underway.
So time from qualifying yesterday showing up. So not a great run yesterday, but hoping for better today.
Yeah, slightly unusual here at the UCI World Championships, qualifying as much of a timed sighting run as anything. Riders going off their rankings.
That section is good. Conditions look really good today at the moment.
Yeah, and the woods in Fort William, talk about sections that have decided races. That wood section has been the scene of absolute carnage over the years.
Yeah, I don't expect it to dig out as much as it has done in past, just because it's stayed dry so far. Plus 33 here though for Maria Pomes Garcia. See the braking bumps come down to that corner. You really see the fork sort of hammering quite hard. Almost looks a little bit soft, if anything.
Yeah, that's the ripple effect on the track caused by multiple riders braking over one section. You get this kind of washboard effect that, again, you kind of need the bike to sit up and ride atop the cross of it, as opposed to getting stuck down in the middle of it.
She hit that wall ride nice, which sort of, you know, once you get up, you don't want to go too high, kind of like the jumps, but if you get up there, you've got something to drop down out of. Yeah, like you said, Rick, you know, suspension setup here is particularly hard. You almost want it soft for the bumps, but too soft and you're going to go too far in the travel. And if you get a bigger compression than you're looking for, then it can send your weight forward on the bike. Maybe you hit a wrong line and you go a bit faster than you practiced. Maybe you skim one bump and the next one even harder, and that could really send you deep into travel. And it's almost like the biggest bench press you've ever done, trying to keep your weight, you know, above the bike, and it doesn't work well. So it's a bit of a tough challenge for these riders to set their bike up to work as well as they can everywhere, and there's no perfect setup here. And is that something that some riders are just naturally more in tune with and better at doing than others, or is it, and it's kind of an essential part of the downhill racer toolkit? It is essential. I mean, experience helps. Hopefully these younger riders will have with help. Garcia crosses the line then. 41 seconds back for the Spaniard. Le Bonheur then leaves the start hut, another UCI World Cup regular. Oh, big crash. Oh, just in that high section coming down towards the river gap. Just caught the edge of that stump there. And now it's tough to get going and get over this jump. So she's 10th in the UCI World Cup standings at the minute. Fair play to her for getting over the Hazard Hooper, that river gap there. Yeah, you can't see there's actually a really deep gap in the middle of that jump, and it's a big commitment. You know, once you've come down towards it, you've got to do it. So 9.7 seconds back then for Le Bonheur. Having quite a good year so far. Yeah, I think we're going to see that go away from her as well. Yeah, she was 5th last time out in the UCI World Cup in Val di Sole Trentino. Dropped a little bit. That's a really steep section there. Looks really good in the bike. Gets really, really low down behind the bars, and another case of what could have been. She pulled time back there, actually. 6 seconds. Le Bonheur, that could have been the hot seat if it wasn't for that crash, and it looks like she may well know it. Poppy Lane doesn't care. She sits on. She's quite comfortable. Yeah, opportunity gone there, but remember that name. Joya Tala then.
4, 3.
Another Canadian on the Santa Cruz V10 bike. Atala attacking Anik Moore here. She won the Crankworx Canadian Open in Whistler just a few weeks ago, which is about as big a ringing endorsement as you can give a Canadian downhiller. Big race on home soil with plenty of international entries. Canadian downhill national champion. She won that in Fernie in British Columbia. Takes that line to the riders right there. Looked like it worked well.
Yeah. So previous ride crash up high the wall ride. That's nice. You kind of get a nice little backside as you come off it as well. Carrying good speed through here. This is that section where it makes a big difference. But cross 29.
Yeah, it's not gone well somewhere along the line.
Pushing a really big gear there. That's tough.
We've got Sasha Mills also on course now.
Still moving though, Atala. Plenty more racing left in this young woman from Canada.
Oh, new fastest time at the top, Sasha Ernest.
So this is the race for the UCI Junior Women for the downhill, the World Championships. The Junior Men's Finals follows this, and then tomorrow we are into the big guns, the elites. Tell you what, Poppy Lane has had a good long sit in that hot seat. That time standing up nicely.
Yeah, she'll be getting nervous as we're getting towards the faster end of it. She'll be hoping. I mean, she doesn't want to wish any bad luck on anyone, but I'm sure she's hoping to see that those times drift away from them.
Sasha Mills then from Australia. Australia, just like Canada, really machining out the young riders at the minute.
See how low the fork got in on those braking bumps as well. There you go, Ryder's left line there coming into this jump over the river.
15 seconds back then at the third split for Sasha Mills.
Seeing those big time gaps jumping from that first split to the second. Obviously that's really affecting the riders. At the moment, that's looking where it's won or lost.
She won in Cairns earlier in the year in the under 19 category at Crankworx. Done a lot of winning so far in her early career domestically in Australia. Oceania Continental Champs. Took the gold there earlier in the season.
Looking fast in the motor section. Quite high there, but got that backside.
It's such a balancing act, these jumps, isn't it? You've got to get over them, but you've still got to get the bike back on the floor and get going again.
By the time you get here, your legs are absolutely screaming, so it can be really easy to misjudge these jumps.
Yeah, Sasha Mills through the arch that you can see right from the bottom of the track, and has played host to some of the biggest runs in downhill history over the years. Mills crosses the line. Well, it looked good from what we saw of it, but 13 seconds back, she looks like she enjoyed it, sort of. Maybe just relieved that it's over. Sasha Ernest then absolutely detonated in Val di Sole with a huge win there at the last UCI World Cup of the year. Bit further back in qualifying yesterday than we would have expected to see her. What has the Kiwi flyer got in store for us today?
Looking really fast up here. Slightly sideways, looks like she hit a rock there, but it looked really fast.
Ernest was absolutely scintillating in Val di Sole Trentino.
There you go, wall ride, but kept it super low. This looks good.
Really nice style on the bike, never looks like she's fighting it too much. But she's going to have to fight these pedals now and jump onto them. Yeah, it was green at the first split, but 4.5 back now at the third split.
It's doable, although by the she's probably absolutely on the ragged edge here, like physically completely done. But you just got to commit. You know you're within a minute of the finish. Inside there, but carried really good speed.
It looked really good through there, didn't it? Really trusted that the bike would grip.
That's 4.2. This is doable, I'd say.
Ernest, she's making headway then, and she's clearing all these jumps absolutely beautifully. The young New Zealander at this. Whoa, bike just fretting to dive there. We've seen some horror crashes there, notably Martin Mays over the years.
5 seconds!
Sasha Ernest then making her way to the line. What is she going to stop the clock at? Sasha Ernest just outside the time of Poppy Lane, her compatriot. 0.4 of a second back.
So close.
So close, and by such fine margins on such a brutal track. Poppy Lane has just survived what may well be one of the biggest challenges to her hot seat of the day. Sasha Ernest, all smiles, as we've already come to expect from her.
The Kiwis then. Top spot.
Simon Atherton in the crowd. Father of the Atherton clan.
Yeah, Rachel Atherton did take the did a qualifying run, completed it earlier on the day.
Yeah, riding injured, so we'll see what happens tomorrow. But
yeah,
been so good.
Apparently big celebration as she crossed the line as well. She knew that it took a lot to do. Dislocated that shoulder, of course, a couple of days ago, Rachel Atherton. And they don't just pop back in the way they used to these days, do they? That's the problem with the advancing years.
Well, Rachel has suffered from a lot of shoulder injuries, and it's never good.
Here is the rundown and the current standings. Poppy Lane, Sasha Ernest, Leigh Bonar, Emma Aiton and Sasha Mills are your top 5. Abigail Ronka, Taylor Osgard, the 2 Americans in 6th and 7th. Jessica Sheridan first down in 8th. Joya Tala and Kate McKenzie round out your top 10. Sasha Ernest just 0.4 of a second off. Seems happy enough of her run. But what could have been? I think Poppy Lane knows that she survived the big one there. That was a big threat. There we are. I think we are seeing some of the riders at the top affected by that red flag rerun. Horrible place to be at the top of a downhill race, Neil. The nerves absolutely palpable.
Yeah, it brings back some, I'm getting the nervous vibes even looking at it, but particularly this place. I think it's always when you can stand at the top of a downhill track and see where you've got to be, see that the finish line basically is way below you. You know you've got to get down to the bottom mountain as fast as you possibly can. There's something quite cool about it, but also pretty nerve-wracking.
Yeah, well, if you're wondering where all the cowbells in the Lochaber area have gone to, those lads have most of them. Go Amy Kenyon, of course. Scottish fans going wild for her, as you would expect. We'll see her coming up very shortly as the fastest in the world. Get ready to drop. We're at the business end of things here as the skreel of the pipes kicks up. What were you? Did you have a prescribed warm-up routine, or were you just a sit and wait sort of rider?
Yes, definitely. I didn't necessarily do it the right way, but I was sit and visualise, get nervous, try and use that nervous energy. I remember actually wearing a heart rate monitor for my qualifying here at one of the World Cups, and I was at max heart rate before I even started my run, and most of that was just nervous energy. So it's a difficult place. Any World Cup track is hard, but particularly as a home rider, you sort of felt the nerves. You knew that your family and friends would be watching it. And all these riders have got to learn how to channel that, and some riders do it better than others. There's definitely some sort of world champ specialists you've come to see out of the elite riders, people like Lotte Bruni, who should know how to channel that pressure.
I was going to say, it does matter more to different nations, doesn't it? The French have always been super strong at the UCI World Championships. Here are the next riders we're going to see on course. Kael Cushman, she'll be getting a rerun, as will Danica Boffa, Sophie Lawrence, Soline Besson, and Evelina Zafiri. Yeah, the French always super strong when it comes to UCI World Champs. The title of Champion du Monde carries a lot of weight in France, of course. Absolutely fanatical about cycling. Kael Cushman then getting ready to press go.
Yeah, you win the rainbow stripes and you can run that forever.
5, 4.
Gail Cushman then leaves the start hut, which she has done already today, but a red flag halfway through her run forced her back to the top. So a really, really impressive feat this. I think any cyclist could appreciate this one. Having worked all week, having worked all year to get into that start hut, and then almost within sight of the line, having to pull off to the side of the track and start again. As I say, extremely physical track, but maybe just a chance to right some wrongs. What can Cushman do with her second chance here in Fort William?
Yeah, credit to these riders. You know, they may have seen some different lines they want to try second time round, but it is really not optimal to be going through your second fast run of the day.
Yeah, we do get them in downhill racing. A red flag situation if a rider's injured and can't be safely removed from the track. Any rider who's already left the start hut should get sent back up to start again. We've also had it for different things like lightning storms over the years, too close to the track or too close to gondolas, and does affect things a wee bit. It can create some storylines.
Yeah, it looks windy as well. I'm not sure if this wind is picking up, but it looks like at the top, and that isn't going to help either.
No.
Bit of a slide on the front tyre there. Actually, some of this top section as well, they have these sort of metal drainage, what it's called,
water bars.
Yeah, like there's one there.
Yeah.
And in the wet, they can be really slippery. I mean, even the dry, I suppose, but it's the littlest things can catch you out, especially if you're offline and you're trying to get back to where you want to be.
So Fort William, the only place in the UK that you can ride a gondola at the top of a downhill track. Take it on, you've got a couple of options at the top of it.
Except for Glencoe, of course.
Except for Glencoe, but if they would have to be running for that to happen. Because it gets extremely, extremely windy in Glencoe. And that's a chairlift, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, there you go.
So Gail Cushman into what I think is, you know, this middle section is so tough. You can see some of the holes she's hopping. You know, you're pushing, you're squatting, you're bunny hopping, you're trying to not ride the roughest parts. So that actually means you've got to hop over it.
I think someone described it the other day in our office. It's kind of like riding a jet ski up here. You want to get the bike up onto the waves almost, you know what I mean, on top of the stuff, and just let it skim across it. And as you say, once that speed drops a bit or you make a mistake, you start hitting hole after hole that you don't want to be in, and that just saps speed.
Yeah, you can see her popping the whole way, just trying to gap over the worst of these rocks. And those brown pots there, that's where it's dug out, and they get deep as well.
So far yet to go as well. Looking good though, Cushman, from up here.
Yeah, I mean, we're a little bit, you know, high, I guess, to see just how smooth it is, but it looks good from here.
Should point out this is a drone shot. Neil and I aren't actually in a chopper overhead. She heads down. Once you start to see the trees, you know that the real work is going to begin. Track looking in great nick down here though.
There you go, fast and rough. That's a section where I've commented on a couple of the riders there, thoughts going in deep, but Gail looks like she's got fairly solid, like fairly hard setup, maybe a bit more progressive on the fourth at least. That looks good.
Yep, so the suspension on these bikes completely adjustable, as we mentioned earlier on the broadcast as well. Getting them set up properly to allow you to hit every line that you want to hit and carry speed. A bit of a dark art, these young riders. Some of them will be naturally more attuned to it than others.
Plus 9 seconds, so pretty decent.
Yep, 9 seconds for Gail Cushman between her and the hot seat.
Bike setup as well changes from track to track, so you know that's something that the riders will be looking at during practice, working with their mechanics. Sometimes at these world champs, the younger riders maybe don't have their own, you know, haven't had their own mechanic during the rest of the season. They might get help from their national federations, but you've got to learn to work with them and try and translate what you want from the bike to these mechanics and really get the best setup ready for this race run.
Because that's the thing, yeah, I mean, you can practice your home trails all you want, your home tracks, but I'm guessing, unless you live in the Fort William area, they're going to be the polar opposite from how you want a bike set up for this place. Loads of chatter, loads of noise and impacts up top, and then you get down here, massive jumps, high speed. You want the bike not to dive through that suspension, to hold you up in its travel, and a completely different set of criteria.
Plus 11.5 now, so pretty good, drifting back a little bit. She's gone high there, but that was really nice.
Nailed it.
Slight catch the rear wheel of the case, but luckily a smaller jump just after, so I think she's in carry speed good now.
Cushman getting the head down through the Scotland Arch, and then the noise hits you, and it's nearly over. It's nearly done with.
A nice little tuck save us just a fraction of energy to get over these last couple of jumps. She's done it.
Cushman down the line, 9 seconds back. She pulled a bit of time back in the end, but tell you what, Neil, she should be proud of that. That is a mental effort to have to go back and take on this track for a second time.
Good run, 4th place.
Danica Boffa then for South Africa. Onto this heartbreaking pedal. Nearly 32 seconds back for Danica.
Still, some of the fitter riders can make time, especially if they're good at jumping this last section into the motorway.
Whoa! Back end just tagging it there as it stepped out.
Oh, a bit nose over on that as well.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Danica Boffa off the side of the track.
Tough. She kind of rode it out okay, you'd hope, but
that was almost going wrong from that first jump. She tied the back end on the first one and then got sent forward on the second one, and then on the third one out the front door. But compared to how it looked to begin with, that could have been a much, much bigger crash, and great to see her back up and moving again. But the bike's stuck in a huge gear now.
Bottom of this track, even the rear shock.
Here we go.
It can get hot and you can start bucking. Normally riders, if they get bucked once, they know what's happening. So the second time they can readjust, but just riding out on that top tube.
Do you know what, Neil? I'd take that as a result. That could have been so much worse.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's a horrible feeling when it starts going like that. I've been there, done that. Almost in exactly the same position.
Nose heavy off anything feels like it takes a long time.
It's a big jump.
Sophie Lawrence then from Canada. Let's rejoin her live on course here at the UCI World Championships in Fort William. Sophie Lawrence crosses the line then, 22 seconds back. Poppy Lane, the second rider on course today, still holds on to that hot seat. Solène Besson then. What can she do about that time of Lane?
That's 28 at the moment. Looking good at the bottom though.
Besson.
Yeah, there's the jump. That's what the problems with.
Heads through the Scotland Arch then, the French woman. On a Commensal, what else? Max Commensal, one of the big figureheads of French downhill for so long now. His bike has become well and truly a privateer staple, and he supported so many young French talents. Evelina Safiri then, from Greece. See how she fares over the jumps.
Nice and low on the first one. Sideways.
Yeah, kicks the back end out, 24 seconds back. Oh, just 6 inches short on that double.
And downhill World Championships, look at that.
Evelina Safiri then, within sight of the line.
And let's give her a big Fort William welcome.
Looking like she had plenty of energy towards the bottom of that one. Cross the line, 22 seconds back on Poppy Lane. Poppy Lane having an absolutely storming run here at the UCI World Championships in Fort William.
We have seen a couple of riders take 2 or 3 seconds out of her in that bottom though, so not sure she'll be sitting that comfortably at the bottom.
Koskarova then from the Czech Republic. "16 seconds back at the last split." Koskarova is still looking super aggressive at the bottom of the track here.
Under the red flag conditions, so...
Yeah, there's potential of a top 10 at a World Champs, and that is still a massive achievement.
It's huge, isn't it, for these young riders?
Good place.
There we are, the Fort William crowd getting warmed up nicely. Riley Miller then from the USA. A young woman who's done a lot of racing already in her career. First in enduro, now having to go on the big bikes.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is the final 5 time.
Riley Miller kicks off the top 5 here in Fort William.
Back in touch.
She was third in Leogang, 7.6 seconds back. Poppy Lane absolutely stormed the middle of this track.
Go bringing it back. 0.6 there though. See, she was fast at the top split, so good.
Yeah, Miller currently 6th in the UCI Mountain Bike World Cup standings, so no slouch at all. Riding that Giant Glory Live Factory racing rider.
7 seconds is probably too much to ask.
It's a lot to ask down here, yeah.
There's still a podium within grasp here.
Miller cracking on here in Fort William, and these big jumps won't faze her one bit. Super smooth over the first one. That second one is probably the kickiest.
Fast and low. This is looking good. I would expect some time to be made back here.
Riley Miller imperious over these big jumps here in Fort William.
Really cranking on. That's the last hard pedal you've got to do. You know, once you've hit that jump, you're in. It drops away from you here. Quite a compression there. This really going through your legs as well.
Bike looking like it's working beautifully underneath her through those big compressions. Riley Miller then down the line for the USA. Miller goes third in Fort William by 4.4 seconds.
It's disappointment, but that was a good run.
It's a difficult track to pace. You know, you've got that top bit where you've got to be accurate. You don't want to force it either. And then the bottom of it, you've just got to empty the tank, haven't you?
Yeah, it does feel like it when you hit that flat section. Oh no, slipping the pedal at the start gate.
Iris van Leuven then, one of the big names in junior women's downhill. Looks like she's throwing the kitchen sink at this one.
It's tough to regroup even mentally after making mistakes straight at the start gate. We've seen it happen a lot, and we've seen riders come back and still win. Look at that, she's been down now, she's 0.8 up.
She is 0.8 of a second faster here, Van Leuven.
It's close, looking fast here, a little scrub over that little jump inside. We're not seeing that
We've
yet.
not seen that inside line yet today. Iris van Leuven absolutely nails it, second at the last UCI Mountain Bike World Cup of the Year in Val di Sole Trentino, first in Lenzerheide at round 1 earlier in the year, riding for Commensal Les Ors, her trade team.
Our fastest qualifier from yesterday as well. Almost 6 seconds up, so expecting big things here. She's got to empty the tank. It's looking good. Big overjump there. That might lose a little speed. But she's
2 seconds to the good now. Van Leuven is moving here in Fort William.
Scrub. See how she carved up when she cased it. That's what I said about misjudging. It's like she'd have lost a little bit of time on that one jump, but
cuts well inside there, taking all the risks. Iris van Leuven. Huge crash in Leogang in the middle part of the season, but it's not slowing her down here today in Scotland.
You know she's tired here. There's a few little mistakes.
Van Leuven within sight of the line now. What is she going to stop the clock at? Is she going to knock Poppy Lane off the hot seat? Van Leuven goes fastest by 5.2 seconds.
Wow.
New Zealand on fire here at the UCI World Championships for the junior women. Van Leuven takes to the hot seat.
What a ride from the Kiwis.
That was everything, you know. She absolutely threw everything at every part of that, just as we've seen her do all season long.
I thought there were some mistakes, but it didn't show.
Now get ready for some noise as Amy Kenyon leaves the start hut to start off the top. The last 3 qualifiers at the top of the track, sorry, the rankings. Amy Kenyon from Scotland. Riding that orange and blue Santa Cruz V10.
That's good. Oh, she was fastest, but now she's +4 almost.
Van Leuven, yeah, did some damage in between that first and second split. Kenyon has her work cut out for her here.
Yeah, 5.4 seconds now.
Shot to stardom as part of Pink Bike Racing.
A little slide coming on to that wall, so the dirt pickup's not going to help.
There's a little bit of moisture in there, and I'm just wondering, there are a few streams that cross this track, especially in this part of it, so maybe just a bit of water soaking in and be able to sort of make a difference before the wall ride, but it's moving away from her. 5.4 seconds now, the British rider back at her home worlds. Perhaps a rider with as much claim as anyone to call it a home worlds. From the Highlands of Scotland herself, Amy Kenyon.
Tagged the hip, got over that clean.
Just tucking in between the jumps, conserving a bit of energy, then on the pedals for the double.
Nice.
Shaking the head, not a good sign. 6.6 down, floats that one a wee bit wide.
Pretty clean, you can see her, she's tired.
Yeah.
She's throwing everything at this.
The all-white kit telling us perfectly if there's been any impact anywhere along the way, but Amy Kenyon comes down the line, the big hope for Scotland, heads to the finish line in Fort William. Amy Kenyon crosses the line. 6.7 seconds back into fourth place for Amy Kenyon. She will have wanted more than that today. Looks back up the track. Riley Miller's there, as is Aries van Leuven. Poppy Lane.
Just 2 riders left now.
Valentina Roa Sanchez, the penultimate rider here in the Junior UCI Downhill Women's World Championships, the finals.
World champion in downhill.
Valentina Roa Sanchez second at the first round in Lenzerheide. Fourth at the second round. Fourth at the last round in Val di Sole Trentino. What can she do today? She's 6.2 seconds back, so it's looking like it's moving away from her as well, Neil.
Yeah, drifting away all the way down. But like I said, we have seen time made on the last section, but it's been 2 or 3 seconds most.
Yeah, only Lisa Bouladou of France left at the top, who stands a chance of denying Aries van Leuven.
Valentina Roa Sanchez, look, she lost a little bit of speed through that flat section. It's a horrible feeling. You know, you don't get back until about here, so it's a long way down. There's that ISO, and she's kind of middle of the berm there, so not losing too much speed, going too high.
Incredibly fast section, but not many places to get pedals in except in between the jumps. Getting bucked a little bit there, so just getting bounced off the landing.
Yeah, 8.1 now.
Yeah, 8.1 back for Roa Sanchez.
Tuck it and get an aerodynamic bit of a jump down there, then.
Yeah. Valentina Roa Sanchez crosses the line then, 7.7 seconds back into 5th place, and there is 1 to go here at the UCI World Championships. And Aries van Leuven from New Zealand has control of the hot seat. And this is that woman, Lisa Bouladou of France. What can she do today? She currently leads the UCI World Cup overall. What are the splits going to tell us? She was a second faster at the first one, but she's lost time, and she's 5.5 back now at the second one. Neil, what is going through Aries van Leuven's mind at this time, sat in the hot seat?
She'll be thinking, she'll be hoping that she's done enough, and it's looking pretty good. But she won't be counting the chickens just yet, I don't think. It's
such an unusual sport, downhill racing, isn't it? Like, you're only really racing the clock, but you're also completely in the hands of other people's performance.
I'd imagine she's very nervous at the bottom, but Lisa Bouladou is putting a good run down still. She'll be looking for a podium place here.
Yeah, Bouladou, as I said, has the lead in that UCI World Cup overall campaign. So she won the second round in Leogang, third place at the first round in Lenzerheide. So she's having a good year, and Certainly France so strong as ever in downhill racing, but 10 seconds back now at the third split. I don't think anyone's making that up down here, with the greatest respect to Lisa Bouladou. So Iris van Leuven, the New Zealander, may well have done enough, but let's get Bouladou down to the line. Lisa Bouladou drops into the finish area in Fort William. What is this result going to be good enough for? The big news, however, is going to be that Iris van Leuven has done enough to win the UCI World Championship for the junior women's downhill. Iris van Leuven, New Zealand, take gold in Fort William. Lisa Bouladou crosses the line, has to make do with 7th place. But look at what this means, and there is a big hug from her team manager, Cedric Ravenel. Neil, a performance worthy of the rainbow stripes from this young woman today.
An amazing ride, yeah, you can see the emotions there, what it actually means to get even the podium of the World Champs. It's a big deal. Rainbow stripes live with you for the rest of your life. Amazing ride. She qualified faster yesterday, but that doesn't mean anything. You've got to put it down.
Team New Zealand.
What a brilliant future for the young Kiwis.
Gold, silver and bronze. Do you know what? I think they would have taken that as a result of breakfast this morning, wouldn't they?
Amazing.
Absolutely huge. Poppy Lane. What a ride from her. Second out of the star hut at the top. Iris van Leuven then takes the gold here at the UCI World Championships in Fort William. New Zealand dominate in downhill.
And who said Kiwis can't fly?
There we have it then. Team New Zealand dominant the junior women's downhill competition. First, second and third.
This is going to be one of the stories.
What a result. Iris van Leuven visibly through everything at that run, every section of it, and was rewarded with the gold medal. A huge talent. Her stock only rising in the sport of downhill.
Grabbed by staff. She wants to disappear and celebrate with her team, with her family.
Yep, small matter of some hardware to be handed over before that can happen. Iris van Leuven then takes the win ahead of Poppy Lane, the second rider to drop, 5.2 seconds behind her. Sasha Ernest, 5.6 behind her again. Amy Kenyon for Great Britain, 6.7 back. Valentina Roas Sanchez, Riley Miller, Lisa Bouladou, Leigh Bonnar. Sasha Mills from Australia then, 18.5 back. Taylor Osgard from the USA, 31 seconds back. Well, I think Iris van Leuven maybe set the tone for these UCI World Championships in the downhill, in that you could see visibly every feature she just chucked the kitchen sink at it.
Yeah, there was no real part on the track that looked like she made all the time. She was just fast everywhere, and you could see her absolutely empty in the tank, which is what you want to see, you know, from top to bottom. Put in the best run you can. It's never going to be perfect, really, at Fort William particularly, but to do a run like that, she can watch it back and be very proud. And like I said earlier, it's a big deal just winning the rainbow stripes, but we've had some incredible junior world champions in the past that have gone on to be the biggest names in downhill mountain biking, so people will take note of this for sure.
Yep, definitely. Perhaps the second biggest smile down there belonging to Max Commensal.
What a roller coaster ride today, winning this title here. Tell us through.
Yeah, it was insane. Like, I don't know if everyone saw it, but out of start, I dropped my pedal, so I was like a bit in the way from the start. But I managed to pull it through, and yeah, best time of my life for sure. So stoked.
It's a New Zealand hat-trick. How will we party tonight?
Oh, I'm not sure, but we'll do something, I'm sure, yeah, insane with my mates from New Zealand, little New Zealand, so like, yeah, incredible.
Okay, congratulations and nice party.
Thank you.
There we go then. A rightfully very excited UCI World Champion. Aries van Leuven then heads up, and all Kiwi top three.
5.2 seconds as well. It's not to be sniffed at.
No,
On a
absolutely
track
not.
like this, where the rest of them are pretty close.
Yeah, Poppy Lane really impressed me, actually. That was a big, long sit from deep in the pack. There is Van Leuven then. There is Max Commensal, the left-hand side of your shot in the sunglasses, congratulating her.
This is down to one. Is that okay?
That's her mum. We'll got another one for the men.
And here come the medals, and here come the medal winners. Poppy Lane. Desperate to take the win there as well. Be the first onto the podium.
The medal ceremony of the 2023 UCI Cycling World Championships for Women Junior Downhill.
Cérémonie protocolaire de championnat du monde des cyclistes de l'UCI 2023 200 Femmes Junior.
The medals and jersey will be presented by Katarina Nash, the UCI Vice President.
Katarina Nash, no stranger to a podium herself. We'll present the medals.
In third place and winner of the bronze medal representing New Zealand.
À la troisième place, la vainqueur de la médaille de bronze représentant Nouvelle-Zélande.
Sacha Ernest.
Sasha Ernest then takes the UCI World Championship bronze medal. Junior women's downhill.
In second place and winner of the silver medal representing New Zealand.
À la vainqueur de la médaille représentant Nouvelle-Zélande.
Poppy Lane takes the silver. Absolutely superb performance, top to bottom. Well worthy of the medal.
And in first place, UCI World Champion and winner of the gold medal representing New Zealand.
À la première place, champion du monde ici et gagnant de la médaille d'or représentant Nouvelle-Zélande,
Aries van Leuven.
Aries van Leuven then is the UCI World Champion. Junior women's downhill. It was full commitment top to bottom, but it was really on that second half that she lit the blue touch paper and did enough to take home this really, really special jersey and a gold medal. The stripes will still stay with her for the rest of her career. Aries van Leuven is your UCI World Champion. There's got to be a Highland cow involved somewhere, hasn't there, Neil?
I mean, what's more prestigious? The rainbow stripes of the Highland cow.
I've only just realised the cow's running the medal as well, so fair play to her. Nice touch.
Will be presented by Katarina Nash, the UCI Vice President.
Le montre tissu sera présenté par Katarina Nash, vice-présidente de l'UCI.
Nice shiny new watch as well for Aries van Leuven.
Of our new UCI World Champion, we present the national anthem of New Zealand.
Mesdames et messieurs, en l'honneur de notre nouveau champion du monde ici, nous vous présentons l'hymne national de Nouvelle-Zélande.
just like the elite men's podium from last time out in Leger. Then one nation dominates all top 3 steps. Only this time, it's New Zealand, not France, leading the way. Well, from one world champion to another, let's hear from Henry Kiefer.